Order. Madam Speaker.
Good morning, honorable members. May we take this opportunity for a silent prayer or meditation. Amen.
Amen.
Honorable members, thank you for making yourselves available for today's special sitting. As the Office of the Speaker, we were advised to call a special sitting in order to comply with NCOP processes and to enable the legislature to participate in the mandate required at the NCOP. So today's special sitting is being held to deal with the conferral of a final mandate on the economic regulation of transport bill B01D 2020. And we have also added an item that was part of our own internal program, which will be the debate and voting on the guide on the provision of support to the Executive Authority and Deputy Speaker of the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature in preparation for the next term. Honorable members, I trust that you will find these two above to be in order. Honorable members are reminded that this is a very special sitting with members having connected virtually. This sitting will then be conducted in terms of our standing rules relating to virtual sittings. We will be using party voting. Rule 288(4) of the rule states that the presiding officer or chairperson must before or at the start of the discussion on the matter expressly inform members if a party vote will be taken. In line with the above, I confirm that voting will take place on the economic regulation of transport bill B01D 2020 and guide on the provision of support to the Executive Authority and Deputy Speaker of the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature. A party vote is a collective vote on behalf of all the members of a party present at a virtual sitting, up to the total membership of that party in the sitting. I will, however, allow an opportunity for any individual member to vote differently from his or her party or to abstain if any member wishes to do so. Honorable members, we will now proceed with the rest of the items on the order papers, and the first item that we'll be proceeding with is obituaries. It is with great sadness that I announce the passing of Mr. Matthew Moodle, brother to Honorable Stephen Moodle. We convey our heartfelt condolences to Honorable Moodle, the Moodle family, and friends at this sad hour. May we also therefore rise where we are to observe a moment of silence in remembrance and in honor of the late Mr. Matthew Moodle. May his soul rest in peace. Honorable members, we move on to apologies. We have an apology of the Honorable Emmy Phakathi, who has a party commitment. The Honorable Dr. NNG Mahlaba, MEC for Sports, Arts and Culture, who is unwell. Honorable members, will now move on to announcements or reports by the Premier, which is item number 3 on the order paper.
Morning, Honorable
Speaker,
Premier. We do not have announcements.
Thank you so much. We will then move to item number 4, which is the opportunity for the Chief Whip to present motions or notices. The Honorable Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, foreign members. Honourable Speaker, I must say that there are no formal motions and notices by the Office of the Chief Whip. Thank you.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Chief Whip. We will now move on to the orders of the day, which are item 5 on the order paper. We will start with the debate and voting on the conferral of the final mandate on the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill, BO1D 2020. And to start that debate, I will therefore call upon the chairperson of the Transport Portfolio Committee to table the committee report on the bill, the Honorable Bishop E.V. Dube, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Somlomo. The final mandate of the Transport Portfolio Committee on the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill, B1D 2020, in terms of Rule 261 of the Standing Rules. Honourable Speaker, the National Council of Provinces has been tagged as Section 76 in terms of Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. The Economic Regulation of Transport Bill seeks to consolidate the economic regulation of transport within a singular framework and policy to establish the Transport Economic Regulator and to establish the Transport Economic Council. On the 14th of April, the portfolio convened a special virtual meeting to have a briefing from the National Department of Transport in terms of Rule 261 of the Standing Rules. The Portfolio Committee resolved to cluster some districts together to hold 6 public hearings. That was Mgungundlovu District, Zululand District, King Cetshwayo, eThekwini, Ugu, and Herigwala. Then the public hearings were advertised from the 5th of May 2023 to the 12th of May on the legislature website, also on the Amajuba Yethu Isolezwe, Ilanga, Mercury, Zululand Observer, Natal Witness, South Coast Herald, Fever, Stenger Weekly. Eventually, 7 public hearings were held at Umkhanyakude, Zululand, Amajuba, Uthukela, Umzinyathi District, May, Ugu, and Herigwala District. As I've said, that we did some clustering. Also, we did Escalin. The public hearings proceeded very well and were very much attended by stakeholders and members of the public in all the venues. The stakeholders present during the public hearings were requested to make written submission to the KZN legislature before the 30th of June 2023. The Portfolio Committee also received a request from Amajuba traditional leaders to present the 3 transport bills, and the meeting was convened on the 26th September at Newcastle Town Hall, which was very successful. On the discussion on the 4th of December, the Portfolio Committee convened a special meeting to deliver on a National Council of Provinces Select Committee on Transport, Public Service and Administration, Public Works and Infrastructure agreed amendments to the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill and confer the final mandate to the NSOP Select Committee on Transport, Public Service and Administration, Public Works and Infrastructure. Adoption of the mandate, having considered the NSOP Select Committee minutes of the meeting and the final version of the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill, and informed by considerable deliberation, the Portfolio Committee voted for the final mandate as follows. ANC supported, Inkatha Freedom Party supported, Democratic Alliance never supported, Economic Freedom Fighters, they supported, the minority parties supported. The members of the Portfolio Committee unanimously agreed to vote in support of Economic Regulation of Transport, except Democratic Alliance. Honourable Speaker, the Portfolio Committee recommends that the legislature must confer authority, 1, the KZN provincial delegation to the NSOP to vote in support of the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill, B1D 2020 at the relevant NSOP Select Committee, and the head of the provincial delegation to the NSOP or the delegate designated by the head of the delegation to vote in support of the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill B1D 2020 at the NSOP plenary. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This is the report of the Transport Portfolio Committee final mandate on the Economic Regulation Transport Bill B1D/2020. I thank you, Chair.
I thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I therefore call upon the Honorable MPP Zungu, on the Chairperson of Public Works, on behalf of the ANC, to debate for 7 minutes. Honorable MPP Zungu.
Ngiyabonga Somlomo. Ngibingelele Somlomo Premier. Indlu yonke ehloniphekile yabahloniphi. Beshamthetho kanjalo nabasibukela ngokulandela imixhakaxhaka zokuxhumana. Ngizocela ukuvala Somlomo i-video and then proceed.
You are not visible to start with. You will close it when you have been visible, Honorable Nyamakayishi Shangabapipizi.
I'm sorry, I've learned that ayibonakali mangabe usebenzisa ilento tablet. I'm using it.
That is not factual. I am also using exactly the same S7 tab, the same model, the same year like you. So let's discard that and have another excuse. We're using the same gadget, model and year. It can be something else. It can't be because of the gadget. We're having the same exact same gadget, Honorable Member. Just check the shutter at the back and then press the video to see.
Wena ngiyawukhuluma namhlanje.
Ugogo wami njalo.
Ebesengikhiphile I'm not so sure noma sekuyavela.
No,
Somlomo.
Honorable Member.
Okay, besengikhiphe out kodwa still ngicela uvele ngiqhubeke Somlomo.
I want to do that. I want to indulge you, but my indulgence of you will render me inconsistent. Inconsistent because the reason you have put forth, Honorable Zungu, is the reason that put the blame on the legislature. Angazi ukuthi ubani lokhuluma ngesikhathi sakhuluma kodwa ngiyathi ukuthi naye uyazibona ukuthi u-out of order ngaphandle kokuthi ke i-self awareness ingabikho. Ngithi mina, Honorable Zungu, if you can say it's because of the network, we will allow you. But if it's it's not the gadget, Honorable Member. While IT is assisting you, you can continue with your debate, but IT will assist you so that you show your face even at the end. And I want to guarantee you that the gadget allows you to debate and be visual. You can continue in the meantime. IT will assist you, Honorable Zungu. Honorable Zungu, Nyamakayishi. Honorable Zungu. Honorable Zungu is still in and is just unmuted now. Oh, I think she's coming through. Honorable Zungu, you can continue. IT will assist you.
Ngibingelele Somlomo ngiyabonga. As a progressive movement, the African National Congress has long acknowledged the significant role played by the transportation sector in enabling economic growth, social cohesion, and regional integration. This is a demonstration This is demonstrated its massive investment infrastructure development to improve and expand the road, rail, and networks across the country. Our world-class infrastructure speaks for itself. The progressive achievement of our movement through its government has facilitated strategic trade within the borders and beyond, with smooth movement of goods that continue to attract foreign investment, boosting our economic growth. This was validated by the World Bank in 2018 when it said that improving transportation connectivity has increased South Africa's export potential and promoted regional integration, which led to higher economic gains. Without fear of any contradictions, as these are undisputed facts, Honorable Speaker and members, this progressive achievement of our movement through its government has also enabled significant job creation and employment. The development and maintenance of our transport infrastructure alone has created and continues to create substantial workforce, ranging from engineers and construction workers to logistics professionals and truck drivers. According to the statistics South Africa report, the transportation sector has employed over 1.3 million people, inclusive of both formal and informal employment opportunities. These are the fruits of the seeds that were planted by this ANC-led government. Somlomo Mama, the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill, also another progressive of our ANC-led government, as this bill seeks to promote competition within the industry, leading to improved efficiency and productivity by implementing fair and transparent regulatory framework. It will prevent monopolistic practices and encourage market entry for new players. This will foster innovation as companies strive to provide better services at a competitive price to gain larger scale markets. This economic regulation also seeks to safeguard the interests of consumers by setting quality standards, ensuring the fair pricing, and protecting consumers' rights through regulatory mechanisms such as price controls, licensing requirements, and safety regulations. The transport service providers will be held accountable for their actions. This will certainly ensure that consumers receive reliable, safe, and affordable transportation services. Furthermore, honorable members, this bill will also play a crucial role in ensuring the safety and security of passengers and goods, as the regulatory bodies set standards for vehicle maintenance, drivers' qualifications, and operational procedures. This will further reduce the risk of accidents and ensure passengers' well-being. Additionally, regulation pertaining to cargo transportation will safeguard against theft, damage, and illegal activities, promoting secure trade and logistics. It is undeniable that transportation has a significant impact on the environment, contributing to pollution and climate change. KwaZulu-Natal is now a victim of this climate change. Through the repeated floods and other inclement weather conditions that we are now experiencing. Through the bill, the economic regulation aims to strike balance between economic development and environmental sustainability by imposing emission standards, promoting the use of alternative fuels, and encouraging eco-friendly practices. The transport sector can mitigate its environmental footprint to ensure a greener and more sustainable future. In line with the resolution of the ANC, the economic regulation will facilitate massive infrastructure development in the transport sector by coordinating efforts between public and private entities. This regulation will ensure timely and efficient construction of roads, railways, ports, and airports, thus supporting economic endeavors of our ANC-led government through enhancing connectivity and improving regional and international trade. Honorable members, the economic regulation of this transport bill will certainly play a vital role in ensuring the smooth functioning, efficiency, and sustainability of transport sector. We certainly commend our ANC-led government commitment to maximize the benefits of the sector while minimizing its negative impacts. We know very well that those who champion the interests of the white monopoly capital will remain opposed to the bill, but as the ANC, we feel that this is indeed a progressive bill for the people, as we have received a very positive response from the public.
Manzini, remember, ubuso bakho uzawubuveza. I sent someone to locate you and try help you to show your face, please.
Bevan.
Okay. The IT guy is coming to you where you are outside to help you because we are in the same vicinity. The next member for 5 minutes is the Honorable S. Moodley on behalf of the IFP.
Good morning, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Members. The IFP notes that the National Council of Provinces Bill has been tagged as Section 76 in terms of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. The Economic Regulation of Transport Bill seeks to consolidate the economic regulation of transport within a single framework and policy, to establish the Transport Economic Regulator and to establish the Transport Economic Council. Transport is essential to the effective working of the economy, bringing together the inputs used in the production of goods and services and getting outputs from the production process to customers. To encourage economic growth, governments need to invest in logistics infrastructure such as roads, railways, airports, and ports. The IFP share a similar sentiment with National Minister of Transport that economic regulation in transport is fragmented and inconsistent, and the new regulatory framework aimed to improve the situation. Prices and pricing are one of the key issues for competition law practice. Pricing is a key of almost all aspects of competition law, be it monopoly, abuse, or a cartel agreement. It is a price of a product or service that is generally under the spotlight. Predatory pricing is the illegal business practice of setting prices for a product unrealistically low in order to eliminate the competition. The high degree of monopolization of the South African economy is a well-known fact, not only in scientific circles, but also widely discussed in the press. Much has been said and written about its causes and consequences. Growing concentration of economic power is having a negative effect on people's lives as monopolies in various sectors are pushing prices higher. Traditionally, the monopolization of markets is seen as a factor that deviates the price from the value and contributes to the monopolists obtaining super profits. The IFP supports an economy which benefits all, including private enterprise with a fair and level playing field for large and small businesses, especially SMMEs that generate the bulk of employment in the economy. The IFP is of the view that while the ERC bill attempts to ensure that the regulator is self-sufficient through levies against industry, existing capacity should be used to staff the administration. Failure to use existing human resources to drive new functions would cause undue delay and uncertainty in implementation. The ERC bill envisages establishment of a regulator with a panel and a board, a council, and the appointment of various officers. The IFP concurs with other views that establishing the various bodies and appointing officers should not become an additional burden on the taxpayer. No one must be dismissed from work. It must be ensured that all people who are already employed by different entities are not sidelined when the transport economic regulator is established. On clause 11, determination of price controls, IFP believes that regulating the pricing of transport entities and access to the infrastructure did not address the inefficiency with these institutions. We support the other potential options for consideration and further investigation include forced breakup of monopolies by government or to encourage more competition, and that competition be introduced by granting concessions to private operators to utilize publicly created transport infrastructure, including ports and rail. Further, the IFP believes that the regulator must consult with the affected provincial and municipal authorities concerning the price control affecting the area of jurisdiction, as it is unclear from clause 11.1 whether the ERT bill intended to regulate any transport-related fees or tariffs set by other spheres of government. The IFP supports the bill. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The next speaker for 4 minutes is the Honorable S. Hussein of the DA.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Am I visible?
Yes, Honorable.
Okay. Honorable Speaker, I stand before this House today and voice our serious concerns on behalf of the Democratic Alliance in respect to the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill. This bill pertains to the consolidation of pricing determinations across various transport entities. The bill, while aiming to streamline pricing functions, raises critical concerns that cannot be overlooked. The bill's aim is to consolidate pricing determinations from multiple transport entities under a single regulator's control, which is a significant shift. However, upon careful examination, it becomes evident that this consolidation poses several fundamental issues. 1. Inadequate legislative drafting. The quality of the legislative drafting within the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill is unsatisfactory. Its provisions are in conflict with the legal and constitutional framework of South Africa. The predominant focus on the price controls could adversely impact market dynamics, potentially harming the economy. The bill further expands to extend and potential reach of government's meddling in transportation. 2 is the excessive government's interventions. The Economic Transport Bill significantly expands government's interventions into the private domain of transportation industry without sufficient justification. This centralization of power within the Department of Transport raises concerns about its impact on civil society and independent institutions. 3 is the unchecked discretionary powers. The discretionary powers granted to the Minister of Transport and the proposed regulator lack appropriate constraints or guiding criteria. This unchecked authority contradicts the Constitution's principle of the rule of law, allowing for subjective judgments and ambiguous application of the bill's clauses. I want to remind you, Madam Speaker, how true my last point is. In August this year, a major taxi violence broke out in Cape Town. Fortunately, Cape Town is in good hands of the Democratic Alliance, who were firm in their stance of not accepting unlawful behavior by taxi operators and would not negotiate with people who did not respect the rule of law. Well, the total opposite of KZN, here Santako runs the ANC politicians, and that's why we will continue to have chaos in this province. So the Minister of Transport instead sides with the taxi operators, calling for taxis that were impounded due to non-compliance with legislation to be released without any conditions. Let me remind you, the Minister of Transport is guided by national legislation, but chose to side with her comrades instead of the rule of law. So if the ANC continues to show us that they are useless and will not leave any of their comrades who break the law behind, why would anyone trust that they will apply this Economic Regulation of Transport Bill lawfully? This is just one case in point. With that said, Madam Speaker, we as the Democratic Alliance will never have faith in giving this ANC minister carte blanche in having full discretionary powers and drafting ambiguous legislation. We would have expected a collaborative approach involving stakeholders from the transport industry, but you would recall that I have mentioned in my previous 2 transport bills that came before this House that the stakeholder engagements was just an opportunity to bus in people and feed the community. The transport industry contribution and engagement was non-existent. With that said, Madam Speaker, the DA does not support this bill. I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker for 3 minutes on behalf of the AFF is Honorable G.F. Mtali. Honorable Mtali, ujwayele ukuba khona nje.
Inobona inkinga ye-network, Honorable Speaker. Ngoba ubengenile.
Are you taking over then because once you clarify like that, you are making it a point that then you are the party is ready. Are you taking over her speech, Honorable Bipel? I will allow you even without prior arrangement. Are you taking over her speech?
No, Honorable Speaker, no.
That's unfortunate. We will move to Honorable C.M. Shinga for 1 minute on behalf of the NFP.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members. The NFP welcomes and supports the bill as a single transport economic regulator. It was necessary because South Africa lacked the efficiency and cost effectiveness of its transportation system to accomplish its economic and social objectives. Economic regulation in transportation was seen to be fragmented, inconsistent, and in some cases non-existent. As a result, the current regulatory structure needed to be enhanced and expanded. We therefore support the ERT bill as it aims to address the shortcomings through the consolidation of economic regulation and transport within a single framework, the establishment of transport economic regulator, establishment of the Transport Economic Council, and making consequential amendments to related acts.
The next speaker for 1 minute is the Honorable Estakur Rajpanze on behalf of the MF.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Minority Front does not support this bill for very good reasons, because of the way that it is in its present form. Section 3.2.b, in terms of the purpose of the bill, brings in BBBE, opening out rail, road, ports and aviation, land, air and sea to previously disadvantaged persons, while Section 4.3 brings in regulation making proportionate to competition, which leads to relaxation and entitlement egos, where transport owners will take safety for a toss in pursuit of money. This is what happened 13 months ago, where I lost my only child and staff through the negligence of a BBBE woman-owned company. No compassion or morality was shown by the owners, who actually paid for the bail of a foreign driver who now cannot be found. The judiciary, therefore, is compromised with such weak laws and regulation making. For example, the provisions herein overlapping with the mandate of the Competition Commission, which is a waste of government resources. The suitably qualified person in section...
Thank you, Mrs. Rajpanze.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The MF does not support this bill.
Thank you, ma'am. The next member is for 1 minute, the Honorable M.E. Phakathi, and who tabled an apology. Therefore, we move to the Honorable S.E. Manqele on behalf of the ACDP for 1 minute. Honorable Manqele.
Greeting you, Speaker. Observed. This bill aims is for improved transport sector with the outcome of contributing to the economic growth. So transport has been identified by the National Tourism Sector Strategy as enable to tourism growth. So the tourism sector is therefore heavily dependent on the effect of transport sector. The intended proposal economic bill therefore has got potential and the impact on the growth of our economy. Therefore, as ACDP, we accept and adopt
Honorable Manqele, Thank you so much, Honorable Bishop. Honorable members, the last speaker amongst the lineup of debaters for 7 minutes on behalf of the ANC is the Honorable Chairperson of Committees, the Honorable HGS Lamavimbela.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Greetings to all the honorable members in the House. Honorable Speaker, today marks the 10th anniversary of the passing of the great revolutionary of our continent that has ever produced, Isithalwandwe, Ubaba Utata uNelson Mandela. His death marked the end of an era. He belongs to the generation of great revolutionaries like Kenneth Kaunda, Robert Mugabe, and Oliver Tambo. On this Reverend Day, we call on all South Africans and global citizens to embrace the legacy of this distinguished son of the soil. As I'm standing today, Honorable Speaker, to debate on the African National Congress, the organization of Utatu Mandela, as authors and champions of our nation, people-centered democracy, the African National Congress has demonstrated and continued to prove to be the government of the people that represent and served the interest of its people at all material times. Every decision-making process places the needs and aspiration of the people at the center, as illustrated by this bill. The mere fact that we are gathered here to debate on this bill, amongst many others we have debated, following a lengthy process of public consultation, is indicative of the commitment of the African National Congress-led government to ensuring that we will be of the people. The will of the people is always considered and always prevails. This is in line with the ANC robust internal democracy since its inception, which no other organization has been able to emulate. Singabuza Omaisimayimane, Nozwakele Mngwango. There is no democracy in the DA. No wonder why the DA is on the opposition to this bill, because to them, we are nothing except the garden boys and the kitchen girls. And in fact, this bill will be of the beneficiary to the previously disadvantaged as South Africans and Blacks in particular. As a result of our inclusivity being a fundamental aspect of our democratic and progressive people's movement, the ANC has been responsible for developing and implementing legislation that addresses various social, economic, and political challenges faced by our people for almost 3 decades now. In the transport sector, for instance, the National Road Traffic Act is a landmark legislation that has significantly contributed to road safety in South Africa. This act provides a comprehensive framework for regulating road traffic licensing, vehicle standards, and traffic enforcement. It establishes clear rules and regulations for all road users, promoting responsible behavior and reducing the number of accidents on the roads. The Act also ensures the effective functioning of traffic laws enforcement agencies and introduces penalties for non-compliance with the traffic regulations. The National Land Transport Act of 2009 is another significant bill enacted by the ANC government to regulate and improve public transportation in South Africa. This act aims to create an integrated and efficient public transport system that is accessible to all citizens. It provides a legal framework for the planning, provision, and regulation of the various models of public transport, including buses, taxis, trains, and non-motorized transport. The Act emphasizes the importance of reliable and affordable public transport services, enhancing mobility for all South Africans. That's why the DA is not in support of this bill, because to them, public transport doesn't matter. Ngoba amandla okuthi babe nezabo iy'moto benze iy'ntando zabo kade bakwazi ukuba nalawo mandla. So-ke kungakho bekhuluma kanje. The Consumer Protection Act of 2008 is also a crucial bill that protects the rights of passengers and consumers in the transport sector. This act ensures that passengers are treated fairly and are provided with safe and reliable transportation services. It establishes regulations for the disclosure of information, fair contractual terms, and effective complaints resolution mechanism. The Act also prohibits unfair practices by transport service providers, such as misleading advertisement or changing excessive fares, thus promoting transparency and accountability in the industry. That is only the African National Congress that talks about accountability and transparency. Beyond this sector, there are many other such as the Domestic Violence Act, which provides legal protection and support for victims of domestic violence. This legislation has played a crucial role in promoting gender equality and ensuring the safety and well-being of women in South Africa. Honorable members, the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence that started on the 25th of November is a stark reminder that despite this effort, many challenges still exist socially, economically, and politically. Yingakho inqwele emasondasondo isaqhubeka nokusebenza ngokuzikhandla ekukhiqizeni ama-bills that are progressive and important for the growth of our country, such as the economic regulation of the transport bill. One of the major challenges faced by the transport industry is the presence of the monopolistic practices. In many countries, a few large transport companies dominate the market, resulting in limited competition and higher prices for consumers. The economic regulation of transport bill seek to address this issue by promoting fair competition, by introducing measures such as licensing.
Honorable Member,
Honorable Speaker, thank you so much for offering me the time the ANC supports.
Thank you, honorable members. We have come to the end of the speakers, and at this point, we call back the chairperson of the transport portfolio, Honorable Emmanuel Vusumuzi Dube, to respond to the debate for 5 minutes. Honorable Emmanuel.
Well, thank you very much, Somlomo, for this opportunity. I do want to really appreciate the debates, especially from Honorable Zungu, from the ANC, with a very clear stand on where we stand in terms of how we want to take the province and the country forward. I want to thank Honorable Motley that the stand or that we need to fight monopoly and make sure that we pass the bills that are going to benefit all people. I also want to thank Honorable Mangele, who has expressed that this bill has a potential economic growth, and Lama Vimbela has done a splendid work in explaining what the bill is all about. Maybe let me just conclude with Honorable Hussein, who has shown a serious blindness in understanding the bill herself. She was part of the Itangamizo Lalela, but I can surely tell you that she never understood what was being discussed. She doesn't understand the bill. In her mind, it's the capitalist thinking that Utabalamategi has nothing to do with them as a democratic alliance. Ngaphandle kokudayisela abantu amatekisi yonto abane interest kuyo, kodwa ukuthi abantu bahamba kanjani emgaqweni, they are not even part of that. It's seriously a shame and embarrassing stand for the Democratic Alliance to think ukuthi abantu abafana neSANCO bawusakabhudu nje labantu abalalela lokho kushiwo inhlangano ebusayo. Whereas we know that an organization like SANCO is one of the great partners with the government, because they are trying to bring some systems transport. Kuyihlazo ukuthi yena lobuhlobo esibakhayo obenza ukuthi nempilo zabantu zivikeleke, kungabi khona ukulwa kubanikazi bemboni sibamisane nabo njengabantu abamnyama. Phela sikhumbule ukuthi imboni yamatekisi enye yezimboni ezibaluleke kakhulu abantu abamnyama abayisungulele zona nje ngaphandle ukuthi bakhathise uhulumeni. And that is the reason she is definitely quoting Cape Town, where they've been very cruel kubashayeli bamatekisi, bebabophela nje ukuthi ume endaweni azothi yena bekufanele kuma ibhasi kuyona, bebe ngabaniki indawo zokupaka amatekisi ukuze athuthe abantu bakithi abamnyama. Ubona nje ukubaluleke kakhulu Democratic Alliance ukunakekela i-interest of the white minority people, and that is why they are going to have a serious problem in the 2024 election. And I'm sure that the community that is listening will really identify the position of the DA, and it will be very naive, for any African people, for any black person who is going to vote DA. I-DA kusho ukuthi abantu ibabona njengembuzi nje okufanele zife emgaqweni kungenamthetho, ibabona njengabantu abafanele bayilawule nje kube uhlangu. Yet uhulumeni wethu uzama ngazo zonke indlela ukuthi le mboni ishapeke ibe nomlawuli ozobheka ukuthi abantu bakhokhe imali efanele, sibe sivikela futhi nayo imboni ukuthi nayo futhi ayirobheki ngaseyimalini. Lesichibiyelo sihle kakhulu. I do not think, and I'm really surprised ukuthi i-Democratic Alliance ayiboni lutho oluhle kulokhu. Kodwa ke phela ungalindelani enhlanganweni vele eyayifuna okhokho bethu bafele ekudingisweni, eyayifuna okhokho bethu bafele bangabi namangcwaba. Ulindeleni kwi-Democratic Alliance nesizukulwane sayo esiba inzalo yamabululu efisa ukuthi noma ngabe imuphi umuntu omnyama ophakamayo imqhobo zikhanda izichoboze ngisho uqobo lwabantu ababelonga kuyona i-organization. Make wamnyama wabonakala ukuthi ucabanga differently, bakushaya bakulahle phansi njengoba seke kwavela kwabanye ofakazi. So ke besikulindele vele lokhu kwi-Democratic Alliance ukuthi uma ngabe siqonde phambili izoba osikhwili phambana nobhoko. But we are very happy with this
Thank you, Honorable Dube.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Somlomo.
Thank you to all honorable members. We have now come to the end of the debate on the conferral of a final mandate on the economic regulation of transport bill. Before we start with the voting procedure, I want to remind you that all those that are outside will not be accepted as it is the norm for now as we start the voting. And I also want to remind you at the beginning of the sitting, when we're tabling apologies on members that are unwell, we announced the name of Dr. NNG Mathaba, who remains unwell but is in the sitting. And we want to clarify that even last week we said that he is unwell. Yes, he is still unwell, but is participating, was connected, and even today is connected. We thought we must clarify because it might be taken as if he is not part of the meeting. Now, honorable members, the House needs to vote on the final mandate as per the recommendation of the Portfolio Committee of Transport. I now put the question to the House as follows. The KwaZulu-Natal legislature agrees to confer a final mandate on 1. The KwaZulu-Natal provincial delegation to the National Council of Provinces to vote in support of the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill B01D 2020 at the relevant NCOP Select Committee. And 2, the head of the provincial delegation to the NCOP or a delegate designated by the head of delegation to cast a vote in favor of the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill B01D 2020 at the NCOP plenary. As I indicated prior to the start of the debate, honorable members, I will now go party by party to obtain the vote and thereafter check if any member wishes to record an individual vote. I will start with Inkatha Freedom Party. Sekuyavotwa Mphephethu, ziphe zakho. IFP.
Honorable Speaker, the IFP supports.
IFP. Thank you. We go to the Democratic Alliance.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. The Democratic Alliance is opposed.
Thank you. We go to the Economic Freedom Fighters.
Greeting and thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Economic Freedom Fighters supports. Thank you.
Thank you. We go to the National Freedom Party.
Honorable Speaker, you call for the NFP?
Yes, National Freedom Party.
Okay, sorry, I didn't get that. The National Freedom Party is in support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. We go to the Minority Front of the Tiger.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think it's the first time I'm having to oppose a bill in its current form until my recommendations are taken on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rajbanzi. We go to the African Christian Democratic Party. Ezikamfundi Sumesho zikhona endlini. ACDP leyo igama layo yayakho Tatumanqele ayikho iproxy. Akazuvuma anizuvuma thethu Mashinga. I am checking with the secretary. Is the ACDP here? No. ACDP not in the house. I go to the African Transformation Movement. They are not in the house. I go to the African National Congress. Zikhona ezikamandela.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, zikhona ezikaRholihlahla Mandela. The African National Congress is in support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, I have the votes of all parties. Yes, Honorable Shinga. Honorable Shinga, we're pressing a put. Members, I have the votes of all parties. Is there any member who wishes to express an individual vote that is different from their party vote or to abstain? Secretary, is there any?
Madam Speaker, there isn't any hands indicating any other changes, Madam Speaker.
Who is the secretary? I hear the voice. Who is the secretary of the legislation?
There I am, Madam Speaker.
Okay. If there is none, Madam Secretary, may I kindly get the tally of the votes?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Those in support, 48. Those against, 12. Abstentions, nil.
Honorable members, I therefore formally declare the result of the votes as follows. In favor, 48. Against, 12. The ayes have it. It is recorded that the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill B1D 2020 is supported. That then concludes voting on the conferral of a final mandate on the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill and concludes the item on the order paper concerning the conferral of a final mandate on the Economic Regulation of Transport Bill B1 2020. We will now move on to the next item, which will be the report by the chairperson of the ad hoc committee, Honorable VP Paluza, on the chairperson of the ad hoc committee on the ad hoc committee on the KwaZulu-Natal Legislature Guide to the Presiding Officer's Handbook. I will first allow the Honorable Xaluza, uma seyekile lokuya switch off camera, to first table the report as she rises, then present the report thereafter. Honorable Xaluza.
Somlamo, I have not switched off the camera. I'm not sure what is happening.
It is the issue of the shutter, honorable members. Andazi kanti sasithini kula workshop. I-shutter kodwa lento engasemva, Honorable Xaluza.
I've just
That is
tried.
the shutter that you have it off. You have the shutter that is off.
Ndikuyo mlungu manje still I've said none, but it's still there.
Which is why I sent the message to remind whips that prior to the debate, do check.
I'm not sure if it's now fine.
It's not. As Mr. Magwaza will be assisting you, can you start with the tabling? I like that Honorable Mazopa. Every time, whenever she's going to debate, she first checks that her gadget is working. Now, I am giving you, Honorable Xaluza, to first table and then table the report itself and then present the report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I would like to table the final report of the ad hoc committee on the KZN guide on the provision of support to the executive authority and the Deputy Speaker in terms of the Standing Rule 1541A1. This is the final report of the ad hoc committee to the House in terms of Rule 1541A1, where the House is to decide the matter in terms of these rules. The ad hoc committee on the guide on the provision of support to the executive authority and the Deputy Speaker was established by the resolution of the House on the 27th of July 2023. In terms of the resolution adopted by the House and the ad hoc committee, was established for the period of 3 months in order to oversee the progress of the drafting of the KZN guide on the provision of support to the executive authority and the Deputy Speakers of KwaZulu-Natal Legislature, to customize the guide as and where necessary for the implementation in the legislature, to finalize the guide for the approval, therefore, by the House, and to submit the report thereon to the House. This resolution was later amended by the House by changing the period of time for which the committee was established from 3 months to 6 months until the 27th of January 2024. The process followed by the committee was as follows. The committee met on the 15th of August 2023, during which the committee elected its chairperson. It was thereafter briefed on the background of the matter, the role of and the purpose of the committee in terms of the resolution of the House. In the draft guide, parties requested time to peruse the guide and to make their input to the committee. It was agreed that parties will be given until the 18th of September to make their inputs. The committee met again on the 17th of October 2023, where it was confirmed that the ANC and the DA had made inputs on the guide. Parties requested further time to make their inputs on the guide and to peruse the submission of the ANC and the DA. It was then agreed that parties be given until the 19th of October to make inputs. The submission of the ANC and the DA were also distributed to all parties. The committee then met on the 31st of October 2023, during which time the submission of parties were considered and discussed. The committee decided on which of the amendments would be incorporated into the draft guide and allowed legal services time to incorporate the changes before it approved the final guide. In considering the guide and amendments thereto, the committee endeavored to ensure that suitable benefits were accorded to the executive authority and the Deputy Speaker of the legislature, so that it reflected the status of the political heads of the legislative arm of the province. However, at the same time, it tried to ensure that financial practicality and prudence was being exercised, so the legislature can serve as an example of accountability and sound fiscal management. Some of the main amendments that the committee had agreed to was as follows. It was confirmed that out-of-pocket expenses as well as entertainment expenses that may be claimed do not include alcohol expenses. It was inserted that hotel suites that may be hired in order to cater for official functions and entertainment, provided that the entertainment should be of an official nature and proof of such should be provided prior to arranging such accommodation. It was further provided that vehicles up to the class of vehicle that would ordinarily be procured as an official vehicle at the seat of office may be rented at airports unless it is impractical for the required purpose, as determined by the Speaker and Deputy Speaker in consultation with the Secretary of the Legislature. It was also inserted that Treasury guidelines which provided for the maximum cost of vehicles that may be procured should be followed. This will also help to ensure that the legislature remains on par with provincial and national trends related to the same. It was provided that travel on trains of any class is allowed instead of it being limited to the blue train. This would be the executive authority and the deputy speakers. This would give the executive authority and the deputy speaker the flexibility in travel that is sometimes required when other forms of transport are unsuitable. It was also provided that the executive authority and the deputy speaker would have an option of choosing either the physical or digital access to newspapers and magazines. This would help in allowing further progress towards paperless environment, while at the same time allowing for a discretion where the situation requires. It must be noted, Honorable Speaker, that the draft sector guide was initially submitted to the legislature for consideration, provided for far more extravagant benefits in certain instances. An example to this is the allowance for chartered flights, allowance for spouses to accompany the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker on international trips, and setting the maximum value of the vehicle being procured to as high as 1.2 million. These were, however, removed in favor of a more financial prudent and approach. We want to table this report. May I take maybe a minute, Honorable Speaker, on the responses?
Okay, you can take your time from your time below.
Thank you very much. In light of the above, it is advised that the guide succeeds in the purpose of being a clear guide on the provision of benefits, tools of trade, allowances, security arrangements, and administrative support services by the legislature to the executive authority and the deputy speaker of the legislature, by at the same time serving as an example in the sector and of the financial practicality and prudence. The ad hoc committee accordingly recommends that the House resolve to approve the guide on the provision of support to the executive authority and the deputy speaker of KwaZulu-Natal legislature. I would like to table the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have sent IT to liaise with your office, especially your secretary that's given by the legislature, so that we can see your face like we did with Honorable Zumbu. I will now, honorable members, go down to the members that will be debating. I will start with the Honorable S.W. Mshengu on behalf of the ANC for 7 minutes. Who's the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Environmental Affairs. Honorable Wiseman.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. A very good morning to you. Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council present, honorable members and our esteemed table staff. This is an auspicious morning for me to debate the well-articulated report by Honorable Galuza on behalf of the ad hoc committee in this Provincial House of Laws. When this legislature assigned us in July of this year, the different political parties to undertake this most important work of deliberating and reporting back on the most suitable and prudent support that could be provided to the executive authority and the deputy speaker, others like the IFP and the EFF chose to sleep on duty and failed to make their own submissions, which to me, that was a clear vote of no confidence on themselves, as deep in their consciences they know that lusekudukalo abasazoluhamba ngaphambi kokuba babe nosomlomo kanye nesekela abavela emaqenjini abo. Honorable members, Allow me to pay homage to the late former deputy speakers of this august house for holding forth over the past 20 years on behalf of the ANC. We remember Comrade Professor Gabriel Ndabandaba, Dr. Mishek Hadebe, Comrade Mtole Pimtimkulu, and recently Comrade Mluleki Ndobe. We owe a great deal of appreciation to these fallen gallant and courageous leaders of our people, whom throughout their lives had dedicated themselves to serve their country. May their glorious souls rest in eternal peace. The ANC, Honorable Speaker, has made a solid, most cost-effective submission and deliberately cutting all the fats that could create an impression that we care more about our comfort and silky cushions of the office instead of providing the bare affordable but maintain the high standing of the executive authority in recognizing the dire fiscal situation of our province. We believe that the transport cost must not exceed 800,000 Rand in line with the Treasury regulations. We do, honorable members, recognize that good quality and safe vehicles are now more expensive. But we are of the view that should a need arises for a vehicle of a higher value be required, this provision would be amended to cater for the demands of the time. Members of the legislature all make declarations of their interest every year, and the executive authority and deputy speaker are no exceptions. Hence, we dismiss the DA submission that a lifestyle audit be conducted to the two office bearers immediately after the termination of their term of office or resignation. If such lifestyle audit could be imposed, all members of the legislature shall be subjected to the same, including the members of the opposition. The framework seeks to simplify and establish a unique identity of administrative support that has no bearing to the ministerial headbook in line with the doctrine of the separation of powers. Honorable members, KwaZulu-Natal is the biggest and most respected legislature in the country, and by developing and adopting this support framework, we would be reinforcing our position as the torchbearers on good governance and prudent financial discipline, as we have been repeatedly getting clean audits in succession. Only the ANC can lead while others are sulking on the opposition benches. Honorable Speaker, we serve at the behest of our political organizations, and it has been my singular honor to serve and represent the ANC in this ad hoc committee. I have no illusion that after 2024 elections, the seat of government and the legislature in particular will still be in Langalbalele Street in Pietermaritzburg. There is no alternative seat of this legislature in KwaZulu-Natal. Our people will never allow their progress to be reversed. The African National Congress will nominate and elect one amongst many to serve as the executive authority because our mandate will definitely be renewed and with even bigger margins. Honorable Speaker, the African National Congress support the recommendations as tabled by the chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I therefore call upon the Honorable T.P. Mthethwa, the Chief Whip of the Official Opposition, for 5 minutes on behalf of the IFP.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I don't know whether you can see me. I have a network problem. Can you allow me to switch off the camera, please?
Awukhambe kusitshe-ke na on ke Nyambosi.
Ngizamile nje Speaker.
Lutho nje akuvelanga ukuthi ukuthi nje nonke namhlanje ninenkinga qhubeleka u-IT uzokusiza weNyambosi.
On my side, Somlo.
Okay, kodwa awukho on our side. Ingakho ngithi u-IT uzokusiza weNyambosi njengawo umhlonishwa uCaluzo nawe uzokwenziwa njengayo.
Ngiyambona uCaluzo kuvaliwe kwakhe. But let me go to my debates, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, the IFP as the official opposition in the KZN legislature notes the KZN guide on the provision of support to the executive authority and deputy speaker of the KwaZulu-Natal legislature. The IFP believe that the executive authority and the deputy speaker of the legislature
they deserve to be accorded respect, and that suitable benefit must be accorded to them. This is non-negotiable. The IFP, the KZN Guide Handbook, like the Ministerial Handbook, is a guide to the benefits and privileges that the Executive and Deputy Speaker are entitled to. This handbook must not be seen as an extraordinary lenient like the Ministerial Handbook. It is an undisputed fact that some people might have used the handbook as an excuse for expenditure which cannot be justified, given the level of inequality we live with, and that it is to spit the faces. At the end, it will spit the faces of the people of South Africa. But as the KZN legislature, we must undertake to provide complete transparency to the people of South Africa by not abusing the handbook, and to continue leading the fight to end the wastage and corruption that might have brought our country to its knees. The report stated that the executive authority and the deputy speaker shall disclose particulars of their financial interests to the legislature within the prescribed time frames, but it did not state that action could be taken against the executive authority or any other member for that member who is not for non-disclosure of their financial interests. There must be no holy cows on this matter, and appropriate action must be taken against the non-disclosure. IFP believes that lifestyle audit must be conducted against the KZN legislature speaker, deputy speaker, and all members. If it is done, they should be held to a higher level of transparency and scrutiny, not less. There must be no excuse for secrecy in the matter, not only because it involves the use of public funds for private comfort, but because it shines a light on the distance between the lives of those who are elected to lead and the ordinary citizens they serve. The IFP welcome the removal of some more extravagant benefit in certain instances. This shows that all parties have been involved in the establishment of this document, because they were all given time to put their views. But as the IFP, although we are happy with the allocation of staff members, but we are against some of the deployment of these members, because some of these members, we know they are permanent, but sometimes they become political active in some instances, and then they must know that when they are in these offices, they are apolitical. Advantage of secondment of staff members could return to their original component on the approved establishment without any burden to the legislature. As a result, the IFP called for an independent audit of all staff in both offices, so that we know that we have professionally qualified people, that they know their work. As the legislature carries the cost of travel and subsistence for official purposes as per the prevailing terms and conditions, for those who want to buy alcohol must be use their own funds. We are happy with that. The IFP calls upon the KZN legislature speaker and the deputy speaker, but this is not about the current one, that they must not do anything that breaches. No, IFP resolved to support the guide on the provision of support to the executive authority and the deputy speaker. Thank you, Chairperson.
We now thank you. So we now to the Honorable Dr. Imran Kika of the DA for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Greetings of peace to everyone. With the budget trajectory heading in the direction that it is, the ANC will leave the budget for the incoming DA-led government just as they found it when they took over the national government from the apartheid regime, who also left the state coffers bare. Before I say more, allow me to welcome the inclusion of several of the DA's submissions, 9 to be precise, with 14 others rejected by the majority. Several other inclusions in the document as is presented make sense. There is a quote from an unknown person who says, when you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. On the one hand, some of the ad hoc committee members argued that as members, we are all equal. And on the other, paradoxically, they advocated for more privilege for the executive authority, refusing to give up simple comforts that ordinary men and women pay for anyway. This, without doubt, is with the longing eye on office and a noticeable evil setting in. The quote then made even more sense to me. You will recall the infamous theme in Orwell's Animal Farm. All members are equal, but some members are more equal, some animals are more equal than others. It is intolerable that the report suggests that which is capped is both financially practical and prudent in every way, and that which is rejected was completely the opposite. Madam Speaker, the majority have rejected the suggestion of a lifestyle audit at the beginning and at the end of the term of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker, herewith gutting the document of systems of accountability or suggestions thereof. We completely support Honorable Mshengu when he said that all members should have a lifestyle audit. Madam Speaker, we know that there is no money for nice to haves, but they want the state to pay for your domestic stuff, the detergents in your home, and perhaps a mop and a vacuum cleaner. They also want the state to pay to take the presiding officer's children to school. They want the state, in this day and age, to still buy magazines for you. And they want you to fly only business class on all domestic flights, amongst other benefits. Honorable members, speakers earn around 2 million rands annually. How can anyone expect that these privileges are still in order simply because one holds executive office? Cadre deployment is rejected by the DA and not in keeping with our core values. Whilst the ANC advocates for closed crony society for some, we stand firm and continue to strive for an open opportunity society for all. It is for this reason that we recommend that all individuals who shall be appointed to the Speaker's office will meet minimum qualification requirements and have the requisite experience to enhance the situation. The ANC majority rejected this. Madam Speaker, the first order of the incoming DA-led government will be to change this document, to bring it in line with prudent expenditure, not necessarily according to the sector norm, but in keeping with the DA's fundamental of federalism and in keeping with the absolute bare minimum required to execute the duty of this office in an economically just, equitable, functional manner without the fancy frills that are intended in this document. I thank you.
Way, DA.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Imran. We will now go to the Honorable P.P. Harris on behalf of the EFF for 3 minutes.
Greetings, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Members. As the EFF, we support the amendments made to this guide as it will limit fruitful and wasteful expenditure while service delivery lags behind. We are strongly against the misuse of taxpayers' monies, especially during this period where National Treasury has given a directive that the government must tighten its belts. I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker for 1 minute is the Honorable C.M. Shinga of the National Freedom Party.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the NFP welcomes and supports the guide on the provision of support to the Executive Authority and Deputy Speakers of the KZN Legislature. However, it is of concern to the NFP that in Chapter 1 of the Handbook, paragraph 1.4, it is provided that the member of executive responsible for public works should be requested to implement, in conjunction with the SARS, the recommended security arrangements for a minimum amount of 130,000 in privately owned residences in terms of the scheme approved by Speakers Forum for this purpose. The NFP recommends that the 130,000 should be increased by at least 20%, considering the cost of living expenses. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Shinga. The next member for 1 minute on behalf of the MF is the Honorable Esther Kurrajpanzi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The MF thanks the ad hoc committee members for the work done on improving this guide on the provision of support to the Executive Authority and Deputy Speaker of the KZN Legislature. The fact that the guide makes benefits and disclosures transparent and clear fosters ethics amongst legislators. Moreover, austerity measures have been considered with flexibility as the situation demands. This is realistic. Given the above, this guide is supported by the Minority Front since it will always be work in progress for legislatures to come. Thank you.
Thank you. The ATM is not in the house. We will then move to the ACDP if they have come back. Honorable Bishop Mangele, are you back, sir? He's still not back. He's Honorable Mangele. Honorable Mangele is still not in the house. He falls off. We go to the Honorable CQ Umadlopa on behalf of the ANC for 7 minutes, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on the Office of the Premier.
Can I request, Honorable Speaker, because of the weak network, to close Ngiyabonga kakhulu Somlomo. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, Lwandle Mthombeni, Honorable Members, siyabingelela. Siyafisa nje Somlomo siqala ukubonga, sibonge kakhulu umsebenzi owenziwe uphiko olubizwa nge-sting operation lapho khona bamise khona noma bavimbe khona ukushushumbiswa kwabantwana abawu-443 baseZimbabwe ebebengeniswa lapha eSouth Africa. Siyabonga kakhulu uhulumeni kaKhongolose ukukwazi ukuvikela izingane nabo bonke abantu base-South Africa nabase-Afrika bonke. Siyabonga kakhulu. Honorable Speaker, as ANC, we are calling upon all law enforcement agencies to protect vulnerable groups in our country, or especially in our province, babavikele abantu besifazane nabantwana abancane Somlomo. Honorable members, this guide provides a basic minimum and upper limit for the services and support that must be provided to the Executive Authority and Deputy Speaker of the Legislature. Honorable Speaker, the guide may be reviewed from time to time by the Speakers Forum. All staff members providing support services to the members of the Speakers Forum are expected to acquaint themselves thoroughly with the provisions contained in these guidelines. All correspondences relating to any provisions of this guide must be in writing, signed by the authority concerned, and addressed to the chairperson of the Speakers Forum. Honorable Speaker, the African National Congress policies remain democratic. As the organization, we remain democratic in terms of openness and transformation. It is under the African National Congress that we are continuing to set and strengthen systems of accountability, transparency, and support. Honorable Speaker, on the lifestyle audit as part of the Executive Authority Handbook, we rejected as African National Congress because the DA was just grandstanding because they don't understand the issue of the lifestyle audit, because the issue of the systems and mechanisms that are put in place only came during the time of the government that is led by the African National Congress. They just saw the term Juguti lifestyle audit. Manje, and they have forgot the mandate that were given as an ad hoc committee, that the task that were given was to oversee the progress of the drafting of the KZN guide on the provision of support to the Executive Authority and Deputy Speakers of the KZN Legislature. We were not given a mandate to come up with the policies. And I think, Honorable Speaker, the honorable members and the DA in particular must understand that here we're talking about the support. There are policies, legislation that are governing all the members of the legislature. It's because the DA does not know about the democratic process. They only know about discriminatory laws that they were doing during the apartheid. That is why now they want to impose apartheid legislation that is only directed to the executive and the speaker, as if they are not part of the legislature. So they are being governed by the laws. Here we are talking about their support so that we make sure that the work that they are doing, they are being supported going forward. Honorable Speaker, I want to talk on what the DA. The DA did not leave positive financials in South Africa. And they left the debt of $29.7 billion that we inherited. And we don't understand why there was that debt, because there was no service delivery. There was no water in the majority of our people. There were no roads in the majority of the people. The money that they were using was the money that the apartheid government was getting to kill the people of this country. So they left the debt. It's not true what the honorable member is saying, Honorable Speaker, that they left the financials that we inherited when we took over the government. There were debts, and that debt had nothing to do with service delivery. So the honorable member must not come here and grandstand and say something that is not true coming forward here, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I must indicate that honorable members, it is we want to mention, honorable members, that we want to register our disappointment to the parties who fail to do submission or their input to the ad hoc committee. Most of the political parties here failed to submit. This, in other words, confirm that the African National Congress is the leader of the society, and the opposition has got nothing to offer if it's not only to oppose, even opposing something that is a progress, that will make progress in our country. Sifuna ukusho somlomo ukuthi sidumele kakhulu ukubona ukuthi ama parties enikezwe opportunity ukuthi akenze input. They never do anything. We don't know whether it means to say that they've got nothing to offer. And the residents of KZN, they can see that it's only the African National Congress that can offer something on the table. You know, it's really a disappointment that most of the parties, they failed. It's only African National Congress. And the
Honorable Matlapa, your time is up.
We support, Honorable Speaker, these recommendations presented by the Chair. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Honorable members, we come to the end of the debate, and I was reminded by the table staff that I only said the announcement in the previous voting right at the time of just after the response of the chair. And I must say it now that from now, the IT will not be accepting people back into the House. As I call upon the Honorable Deputy Chief Whip, VP Taluza, Honorable Precious Taluza, in her capacity as the chairperson of the ad hoc committee, to respond to the debate for 4 minutes. Honorable Precious Taluza, you have 4 minutes.
Thank
you very much, Honorable Speaker, and sincere apologies for earlier. I've had to change my gadgets. First and foremost, I think it's important that
you can switch off your video. It seems as if you are struggling with network, Honorable Taluza. You can switch off your video, Honorable Taluza.
Thank you so much.
You can switch off your video.
we must really appreciate the work, but we also share the same concerns that some parties failed to actually make submissions, because it would have been proper that we get all of the parties to have a voice in this, so that we know that it was an inclusive matter when we actually put it to finality. But we did receive.
Honorable Taluza, you were cut.
I'm not sure what is happening with my.
Am I audible now? Yes, yes.
We did indicate, Speaker Uguti, it would have been it would have assisted if this was an inclusive, but it ended up being a DA and an ANC matter because other parties failed to actually submit. But we must also appreciate the work that the staff has actually put in ensuring that we finalize the handbook. I must also indicate, Chairperson Uguti, you know, when it comes to the DA, it was the DA that was supporting spouses going on international trips. It was the DA that was supporting the deletion of the 800,000 in terms of the cars that must be procured. But the same DA is talking about financial prudence. I think it's a matter that when they are sitting, abasilekelele man, abasilekelele. It is the double standards. We understand it's election year, but truly speaking, they know it was double standard on their part. Whatever that suited them, it was ideal. But then they go back and say, Uguti, it's the ANC that are taking decisions that are not financial prudent, which is something that I think goes against the whole concept. But we must say, Uguti, we are not a federal province. The decision that we had to take as the ad hoc committee had to ensure that we abide by the national norms that are in existence. We abide by the sector model that is already in existence, so that we don't reflect a notion yokuthi KwaZulu-Natal is an exceptional case. So the decisions that we had to take were decisions that are in line with what is already in existence nationally as well as in the sector. But equally, our mandate, Honorable Speaker, was not to change the policies of the legislature. Our mandate was the handbook. And some of the recommendations of the DA needed us to change the policy. And we did indicate those who want to change the policy must do it at the time that is going to be allocated for policy changes. But right now, all we needed to do was ensure that we stick to the script and do what we were intended and established for as the portfolio committee. But we understand, some of the